What does your morning work routine look like? And do you even need to have one? Hey, special educators, this is Jennifer from Positively Learning. Thanks so much for joining me here. I'm going to be sharing 10 ideas for setting up a morning work routine. Now, as you're listening to this, if you love these ideas, you can definitely take out the word morning and substitute independent because these activities could work anytime. All right, now I have been trying to film this video and it is just getting so long. So what I want to do is link up this blog post for you if you want more information. I'll show you what's included. It has all the 10 ideas, lots of details, links to examples to check out. So as we're going through this video, if there are some ideas that you definitely want more information on, please be sure to follow the link. Can't wait to hear what you choose. All right, now I'm going to switch over to this graphic. It's a little bit easier to look at. What I want to do is share my own experiences and why some of these activities are just perfect, other considerations with some of these activities, and so on. So you have the whole scoop before you decide. I cannot wait to hear what you decide. Maybe there'll be 4 or 5 new to you activities. All right, so the major factors I want to consider when choosing morning work. Number one, think about your arrival system at your school. I know that our students arrived at staggered times, and they actually weren't supposed to. Everybody was supposed to come at the same time. It just never worked that way. We had some students who would arrive immediately at the bell. Maybe they were already in the building having breakfast, or they came in with a staff member. They were at the door coming into the classroom immediately. So they might have had up to 20 minutes of morning work time. Other students might come 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later. And of course, we always had the handful of students who would arrive with less than a minute to spare before the school day officially began. So they weren't getting any work time. That is very important to consider when you're thinking about setting up these activities. Another consideration is what is happening in your classroom immediately following morning work. I had some years where my students were traveling to enrichments as their first block, which means they were leaving the classroom to go to art, music, or gym. So that definitely impacted our morning work decisions because we didn't have that flexibility if we wanted to extend that time. And then, of course, considering your students' interest levels, independent levels, and frustration levels. All good considerations when choosing an activity. All right, so now I want to share what worked for us. And at the very end, I'm going to share the top 2, and I can guarantee you cannot guess what they are. All right, so let's start with the technology. I actually resisted using technology as part of our morning work. And it was definitely for that frustration level. I had some students who would be on technology for 20 minutes, and that could be great. You can get really intentional. You can use technology for pre-teaching, reteaching, practice and application. However, I may have students who would just go straight onto technology and, oh, timer goes off, it's time to get off. And that would be really frustrating. And of course, we have students who would enter the classroom as every Chromebook was closing shut. And how would they feel? They may even feel that they were being punished in some way. They didn't get technology time, and that's definitely a high interest activity. But I know that it's out of my students' control what time they would enter the classroom. They don't drive the car or the transportation, so why should they feel that there's some type of punishment? And then I think about the purpose of morning work. For me, the purpose is to give a joyful start, the most positive start we can have to our students so that they can have a fantastic day. We know that there's going to be so much to ask of them. We're going to be working so hard throughout the school day, and I want to give them the best start. And for us, in our situation, technology was not providing that. Very similar with gross motor movement. I think that is a awesome way to start the day. But I would rather wait till it's whole group, we have everybody together. Because how would you like to walk into a dance party? And then, should students really be dancing for 20 minutes and then ask to sit still right afterwards. Nope. I think I would skip that for morning work and put that in another part of the day where everyone can participate and it would be a great transition. So now let's look at fine motor stations and busy bins. These kind of go together. These could potentially have the same outcome as the technology and gross motor movement. How would a student feel if there was a busy bin activity on the carpet and maybe it was Legos or some other preferred activity and it was getting all cleaned up as they walked in the door? They'd feel like they missed something, right? But I do have a workaround for this. Let me show you this picture of these small individual student containers. These in this picture are pencil cases. There's two are closed and one's open. But of course, you could use task boxes, other kind of bins, pencil pouches or bags. But I like the idea of busy bins if you can offer that student individual task. And the reason is you could set up a whole class set of these very easily by putting in the task cards in each box and then a handful of manipulatives. And if you set up a class set in your classroom, like on a shelf, then that could be used any time of the day very easily. Students could just go up, grab one, take it back to their desk or table or carpet. And so if a student is missing morning work time because of a late arrival and they see people using these bins, well, these bins get cleaned up, put back on the shelf. It's something that's really familiar to the student. And he or she may know, oh, okay, they were using the bins. I know I'll have my opportunity possibly later. And you could use these bins for so many different things. You could use them to take a break, use them indoor recess, fun Friday, quick fine motor task, lots of different activities for these. So that is a potential workaround, but it is something also to really consider. I don't think my students would be super excited to see Legos cleaned up and they didn't get to play with them. All right, now thinking about task box system. I'm going to skip down to the bottom. The task box system is very similar to the busy bins we just looked at. You know I love to talk about task boxes, and hopefully you already have some type of system. Maybe it's not boxes, maybe it's file folders or student binders that they already have in place for independent work time. That could easily be used for morning work as well. Okay, now moving on to morning message and daily writing prompts. I love these. These could be displayed, so save paper. Students could use whiteboards, they could use journals that they keep together in their seat sacks or wherever, and they could be recording whatever you've put into place for the morning message, whether it's proofreading or answering a question or their daily writing prompt. Now, the morning message was not necessarily accessible to most students I worked with, but they could do the daily writing prompt and answering like in a differentiated system, whether it's picture supported or so on. So those are two great options as well. Activity pages. So when we think of independent or morning work, independent work, we often think of a paper and pencil activity. These activity pages I want to show you put like a little bit of a twist on it because they incorporate more fine motor, and I love these. These are landscape pages, and they are perfect to be printed double-sided. It's a set of 300, so you're not going to run out of them. I liked having stacks of these just accessible in the resource room. So if somebody needed a break from the whole group, maybe they're working with a one-on-one or a paraprofessional can grab one of these sheets. They were high interest. Now they do have very low academics included. It could be matching letters, uppercase, lowercase, counting, but the majority of it was fine motor tasks, maybe a maze, a path to trace, something to circle. So these were a great hit. Another way that I used these in the inclusion classroom is we had, for example, a math curriculum that we all used, and the student work always came out on these 3 pages, and they just were not formatted very student friendly. So I would take those pages and keep the fronts, and then I would put one of these pages on the back, run through these through the copier. And it was just really helpful for my students as we're building up our independence and our stamina. So they would do the front page with math with everybody with support, and then they could flip over the page and work on their independent activity. It was a great help. All right, we're almost through. One more thing to show you is this calendar and visual schedules. This is a great morning work activity. This is not the traditional schedule you might see displayed in the front of the room, but instead a picture schedule. Now, I wanted to show this to you because this is actually a free download that I will also put the link for so you can grab this. I set up picture schedules for individual students, although you could use it with more than one student for sure, but I set them up in binders and they had these adapted pieces. You can see there's a picture to designate what kind of activity is happening, and there is a text box. So maybe students are doing the pictures, paraprofessionals are matching the text, maybe the opposite. You can see that the clocks, you could fill those in on that page before inserting it into the binder cover, or you could add a dry erase marker and have students write the time, or paraprofessionals, especially if your schedule is like very fluid. That's the morning. When they come back from lunch or recess, you could do the afternoon schedule and so on. The inside of the binder could have more fine motor pages. It also could have a pencil pouch keeping all these pictures together. So that was a great activity. It is free. I will be sure to link that. You can grab a copy for yourself. All right, now it's time to reveal the ones that worked the best for us. And I can promise that they are not what you think. There's so many great ideas, but the ones that worked the very best for us, considering all of those different factors, are the independent reading and the daily writing prompts. And you could have both, so you can offer some student choice. We did independent reading where our students had book bags and they were seat sack size, and students could switch out books once a week and they could choose the books. Now, we did have some pre-selected bins to choose from, and we had some more that were completely free choice. So students could visit that, select the books, they'd have them there. Such a great thing to have on hand close by for any time of the day when we can get some independent reading. It was a high interest activity because they had student choice, but it wasn't so high interest that we'd be kicking in that frustration level if somebody missed it. Same thing with the daily writing prompts. We displayed these, and this was in an inclusion classroom setting. And I had a co-teacher who loved this idea. I was not quite so sure. And she said, trust the process. Well, we used journals because I was just cutting down on all the loose paper all around. And my students would write in their journals, respond to the prompt. And the prompt could have picture supports if that was appropriate. And these prompts, I thought, when I was looking at what my students were doing, I was really trying to trust that process, but it was getting a little difficult because even August, September, October, I wasn't seeing much. Yes, I might be seeing a little bit of drawing or scribbling, which I know was appropriate developmentally, but it was still like thinking, is this the best use of time? Well, if you wait long enough, maybe it's November, maybe it's December, it's definitely around January and lasts until the end of the year. It's amazing what you see start to emerge. Whether students are doing a little more copy work, or whether they're starting to insert maybe some things that they had learned that's being transferred over. It was really neat. And of course, those journals, the best work samples. So that was a really nice activity. So those were the clear winners for all the factors that I had described. And of course, were really easy to set up too. Maybe we use the busy bins for other activities. Gross motor was always part of our day. The task box system, picture schedules, and those activity pages came out in other areas in the inclusion classroom setting. But independent reading and daily writing prompts were the winners. All right, so your job is to rewatch this video, choose a few activities that you know are going to be just right for your students. Follow the blog link to be sure to get more information, check out some examples, and also get that picture schedule. That would be something that would be great to have set up when it's ready to be used. All right, thank you so much. Let me know if you have any questions about any of these activities, and I can't wait to hear what you choose. Thanks for watching.